Good evening, and welcome to The Caring View, the only online social care chat show which airs weekly each week. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you're updated every single time that we load up a new video. And for the first time, we are live on Facebook as well. So there's a star on Facebook, hit that, like it in our group. We're broadcasting directly in our Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group already, it is in the description to this video, so go and check that out. The views we discussed tonight are of our own and not our respective companies. Good evening, Mark, and how are you?
Yes, good evening. Not too bad, thank you. You?
I'm good, thank you very much. I'm good. I don't know whether it's me, Mark, but you're holding yourself very still, very still. I don't know whether your camera's frozen or whether it's just the internet at my end. Yes, no, I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm good. Any news this week, other than the fact that, we've got the Health Plus Care show coming up in a couple of weeks' time, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Is there anything major care news-wise that you want to bring up before we start our discussions tonight?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing kind of going on in the world of social care is there's a few consultations, so I will share those in the comments section. So there's one for mental health, which I know we raised last week, which is still open, which I think is important that we all complete to make sure that services going forward are suitable and provide good, adequate services for people with mental health. But yeah, no, I think the only thing I shared a video on my social media platforms of a video that came from TikTok that I found, which I thought was really good for kind of like recruitment, which, yeah, I think a large number of providers have kind of tagged themselves in and are saying that they're going to make their own version, which I think will be really good. I think, yeah, looking forward to seeing people's kind of videos, yeah, with some good music, short, catchy TikTok rivals. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Fantastic stuff. And obviously, social media news this week. We're always telling people to get themselves on social media. Get yourself a LinkedIn account, get yourself a Twitter account. I would get a Twitter account as quick as you can before Elon Musk decides that it's completely changing the entire format. We are waiting with bated breath to see what's going to be going on there. The only thing that I read this week and that I think is worth bringing up is around the bottlenecking in NHS and the availability of social care at the moment. The social care capacity, whether that be care homes, whether that be home care or other services, is at a reduced capacity. Trust the NHS to turn a social care crisis into an NHS crisis. This is the worst crisis the NHS has ever known. Yes, we get that. But don't forget it's social care at the moment that is struggling with its public image, with its professional identity, with its workforce capacity. So let's try and bring it right back to social care. Huge discussions about more money coming into the social care sector. We've got the increased levy. We're only getting a fraction of that. Should we be getting more? Obviously, Mark and I, well, I won't speak for you, Mark. I won't put words in your mouth. I think we should be doing. But it's all around that access to care and how do we change that moving forwards. I don't know whether you want to touch on that, Mark, before we get going.
No, I completely agree with what you said. And yeah, I think anybody that knows me, follows me on social media, knows that I'm always banging the drum for, better pay, better conditions for our workforce. So yeah, completely agree.
It can't just be the answer, though, can it, pay, when we think about it? And I know we've spoken about this a number of times. Yes, you can go down to Tesco down the road and earn a bit more money and you get your benefits like food vouchers or Tesco Club card points, or you go to other places, you get all these company benefits that help with the rising cost of living. But there's got to be something about culture and job satisfaction and that appreciation and gratitude. Or do you think it is just about money, Mark?
No, not at all. I think only pay or only represents a small proportion of why people join social care. And I think we know from kind of surveys and studies that actually it's like normally at the bottom end of why people work in social care. I think it just helps to have that kind of a higher pay bracket would make it seem more of a professional role. And I think it helps with retention, but I definitely think there needs to be more emphasis on a better work-life balance, rotas, shift patterns. And I know we've spoken about it before, but I still hear from care workers that say, oh, we're getting our rota in, it's a Friday afternoon for Monday. And I think, why in 2022 is that still happening with electronic systems and care plans? And yeah, like people need to be able to plan their life. And, you know, if you know you're going to be working the set shifts at, you know, a supermarket or in retail, then, you know, people want to be able to plan their own personal life. And I think with COVID, people have realized there's more to life. There's more people booking holidays and more, you know, live events and bits and pieces. And I think if you can't plan your own personal life, then it's not going to be something that's sustainable. But I also think that, you know, there's a shortage in the workforce. I think we put a lot more pressure on the workforce we've got and the people that pick up overtime. And I think a lot of companies end up burning out those care workers, and we need to be cautious of how we manage that whilst making sure there's enough people to provide the care and support to the people we're looking after.
Yeah, spot on. Life's too short now, isn't it? And we do need to be thinking of other avenues and other ways we can make working in social care more attractive, because at the end of the day, it's the best job in the world, working in social care. Now, if only we had an expert on how to be outstanding and how to really get the best out of your businesses joining us tonight. Oh, wait, we do. We have Isaac joining us, Isaac Theophilus. Outstanding, how to achieve outstanding, but also of Isaac Theophilus himself. So I'm going to bring Isaac in now. Anyone who's watching this who is a care provider, who is part of the Outstanding Managers Network group, who is about anything about social care will know who Isaac is. So Isaac, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you, Adam. And thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. So, Isaac, for anyone who's watching tonight who doesn't know you, do you want to just give us a bit of an introduction? Let us know who you are, what your journey into social care and where you got to today.
Sure. Thank you. I think, first of all, I have seen your episodes sort of from the beginning, bits and pieces here and there when I drive around, etc., etc. I just want to appreciate the amount of time and commitment you both and the people who started this before is dedicating to do this for the sector. Not many people do it, and I really want to appreciate it. It's a lot of personal time you're giving away, which is appreciable. I think everybody should recognize it, and thank you very much for doing it, and thank you for having me as well.
You'll make us blush, Isaac. We hate you. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Telling about myself, for those of people who doesn't know about me, I started as a carer in a care home, worked my way up to become a manager of a nursing home. I'm also a registered qualified nurse. Originally, I was born in India in a place called Kerala, where you produce a lot of nurses. A lot of nurses migrate to different countries, and I was one of them. I think I really enjoyed my journey so far. With the help of my team, we achieved outstanding twice for our care home, which was a dementia specialist nursing home, high-end needs. And second time, it was outstanding in all the domains. It was a team effort. It's not, yes, of course, there is leadership element in it, but it was a team effort. We were sort of like first few care homes who got that outstanding in all the domains. Then, without much planning, I left my job and started consultancy. Uh, uh, got my first paid client who paid 500 quid for a mock inspection, and I was so happy, and and then it slowed down, and then I realized it's not just auditing; it's also the business is more about marketing, get yourself known to other people. It was a very good journey, and sort of like I inspected like around 130 plus care homes so far. I lost the count now. I have seen good, bad, and ugly care homes, and managed to save a lot of care home businesses from closure by Care Quality Commission. And I do a lot of coaching and mentoring. Similar to you, very passionate about the sector, love what I do.
I think when everyone's watching this or will be coming back to watch this tonight, they'll soak up all your words, Isaac, and they'll take them all away with you. But It's the good, the bad, and the ugly they want to know about. They want to know, how can we do it? How can we get some of that outstanding? We want some stars, and how do we do it? And we will get into that conversation as we get on this evening. But I also want to recognize you as Isaac, the author, as well. You've got a book.
I have, yes.
So what's
It's
the book
called-
about? Tell us about your journey into being an author. Oh, there we go. Mark's copyright with him.
Thank you, Mark. Yes. It's not a bedtime read. It's not a Shakespearean type of literature type book. It's a very simple how to do type of guide based on CQC Chloe's. So if you want to audit your care home, most of the care homes, one of the difficulties that they face is they probably have worked in that care home for such a long time, haven't seen any other setting to compare themselves with. So this is an audit tool that they can use in order to compare their standards. So at least to reach the minimum requirement and above as well. So it's a step. If you methodically follow that book, that's more than enough to get you to outstanding.
I think when I look back at when I first read the book, there were so many things that were simple wins. Like I've got all those post-it notes down the side because I remember thinking that's so easy to implement. That's so easy to implement. Oh, I forgot about doing that. And I think it kind of reflected back about kind of like in continuous improvement. And actually, you can't just stand still in your service. You've always got to look for something more. And I know you do quite a lot of work around continuous improvement, don't you? And I just wondered whether you could share some tips for managers that might have, worked over the last kind of couple of years with COVID, and we've kind of focused on infection control and battling the virus and kind of looking after our teams, and that might now be a bit stagnant and thinking, oh, I don't know which direction to go or what to start on next. What would be your advice to any care managers out there?
The COVID itself has brought a lot of extra burden onto the sector. I don't think even now with COVID, many care providers or many care home managers or many people have recognized how much extra admin time is needed to implement the COVID related stuff along with meeting the basic compliance. So that itself is a different project. You have to allocate money and resources to do that. I think there was a lot of funding in order to support that. I think things are so varied. Of course, COVID has brought a lot of issues. I think before we maintain the compliance, I think on top of that, if you have a stable team, in order to do continuous improvement, it was sort of easier. Now the trajectory is like this. So if you have a COVID outbreak, everything stays, and then you focus on COVID, you get that corrected, and then you start again. So yeah, I mean, I'm so sad this sector has to go through this, but hopefully we will be out of this in 1 year time when the vaccines are more effective and more, taking this away from the sector.
Yeah, and I had this conversation, Isaac, the other day with some colleagues of mine, and we were talking about the additional workload, the additional burden that is now on social care managers and social care settings. And one of them we were talking about is data, and the amount of data people need to collect and input and send off to people, be it CQC, local authority, public health, ICSs, ICBs, whatever you want to call them. Wouldn't it be great if we could streamline what providers had to do? Because we're all asking providers to do something, everyone's asking providers to do something, when really it should be providers going, this is our information, if you want it, use this channel, because then you can all access it and it saves us time because we have to put time back into caring. So do you think something like that will be achievable? Do you reckon the regulators and local authorities and health can work together to create a central data system for providers? Do you think that's on the future horizon?
I think this is a time to do that straight away. It doesn't have to be future because the software models which is available now, it's it's a small project. I think Capacity Tracker, in some ways, it's trying to do that. Along with that, we have to do the HPT reporting as well, which is sort of like a duplication of what we do. And then you have CQC, then you have the local authority sending spreadsheet asking us to fill something. So my view on those things are CQC, notifying CQC is a legal compliance, notifying safeguarding is a legal compliance too. But when it comes to other people demanding us to send things over, I would prioritize patient care rather than spending time on filling spreadsheet until the system is ready. I think streamlining, yes, some clever thought has to go through it, and it will make the life so easy for the care providers. Yes.
Yeah, I think looking at streamlining, I long have thought about, there's so many electronic care planning systems, isn't there, that the CQC really need to kind of get on board and, let providers know whether they approve them or not. A bit like Skills for Care do with training providers. Because I think, and I know I've supported and I've been there myself, you're looking at all these different electronic systems and what they do, and you never know really where to start. And you write a list of pros and you write a list of cons, and I think you just kind of go for the whim of which one your gut tells you. And I think sometimes a lot of providers, and I know I've fallen foul to it myself, is you sign up and you're kind of in a contract and you're like, oh, this doesn't actually work for our service. And then you either have to buy yourself out, which is very pricey, or you have to put up with a system that is kind of half-happed and doesn't really meet the needs of what you actually need. And then ultimately you end up paying more because you buy another product to fill the gap, or you add on to the product you've got. So yeah, I think streamlining services, digital definitely needs to be streamlined for me personally.
And also to add a note to what you're saying, Mark, I think some of the, without mentioning the names, but some of the product that's released, like software packages supporting care homes, is actually developed somewhere in different countries, and they bespoke it to meet the UK requirements. And sometimes it doesn't fit. And those providers who sign up for those kind of systems, I have seen systems have actually failed the care homes in terms of CQC regulations. So this can happen. It has to be cautiously done. So I think there has to be some kind of mechanism where, there's something that Adam can pursue with, is basically anyone who sells a system should at least meet the regulations. There has to be some kind of screening mechanism for people to sell products to care home providers without knowing these things. They can end up in trouble, and that can result in poor care as well.
I think what I would love to see is a system that care providers use, the NHS use, and local authority use. So there's like real streamlined approach so that everyone knows. There's nothing worse than when you phone the local authority and they struggle to find the person, and then they go into hospital and they struggle to find the person, and it's just, oh no, is Mr. Smith there? Oh no, that's the wrong Mr. Smith. Oh no, we've got the right Mr. Smith. And it's just, it's so chaotic sometimes. And I think just one system that everybody on would just make life so much easier. And I think we'd streamline the experience for the person accessing care without having to give their story 101 times to 101 different professionals.
It's true. I think to at least start with, we can actually focus on providing the data on a standardized quality data, like quality indicators. So it can be number of falls. If CQC or local authority or ADAS come up with, these are the data we require from all the care homes, and it's shared between the people, it's just numbers, and that should be enough for now to start with. Because I think integrating NHS, local authority, that's going to be too complex if you think about the bigger picture.
I mean, I don't want to do anyone out of business. I don't want to do any care providers out there, care planner providers out of business, anything like that. But the NHS and the government are really pushing for this. Everyone should be digital by 2024 or whatever it is. We're all going to have ICSs and ICBs by July this year, okay, sure, whatever. That's going to happen. And they're all pushing for this angle. And I I mean, I don't know the whole NHS accounts, but I don't know any of their accounts. But surely there's enough money in the pot for the NHS to create a health and social care standardized care system, care planning system, care record system, whatever, and just shipping it out. I don't know. In my head, that just makes sense. Isaac, I was talking to one of our members the other day who is really passionate about social care, has achieved some really great management qualifications, and is working as a senior at the moment in a residential setting. She's got a master's now in management, but is struggling to be able to move on into a registered manager's role. Every role that she's going for is basically, you don't have the experience, you've no experience as an RM, we can't take you on because you don't have RM experience. Now, one doesn't just obtain RM experience overnight. We have to be given an opportunity. So what are your tips out there for aspiring managers? We need more managers. So how do we get them up on the RM pedestal?
There are different ways to do it. So one, the question she needs to ask herself is, why is she not getting an opportunity where she is now? Because that's the easiest pathway. Because if she develops a trust with the current provider, then that's easier. She will get a chance, and she knows the place. It's easy to progress as a manager. So that's something that she needs to reflect. The second thing is, yes, I think if it's a properly, if the package is very high and it's a properly well-run care home, they probably don't want to bring someone without experience as an RM because of the risk involved in it. They probably want to bring in people with experience because that takes less time for them to teach them and coach them and mentor them. For this lady, if she wants to move up the ladder so quickly from a senior care work to registered manager, there is still a gap. So she at least have to aim for a deputy manager post, at least for a couple of months, prove herself, turn around a CQC rating, then move towards. I think that it's a 1 year project, I would say. 6 months turnaround and 1 year make a impact in the care home that she's working, show that as a proof to get a registered manager post, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar advice that I had given her. And then once I was, putting some information together and, to support her, I sat there and I thought to myself, we talk about succession planning. The Health and Social Care Club had a really wonderful room recently on succession planning. And we want to be able to make sure we can transfer our skills to our teams. We want our teams to benefit us the best we can do. So we have to understand that as soon as they walk through that door, one day they're going to leave us and go on to bigger and better things. And we want that for them. We just want them to benefit us along the way. And I just wonder whether there's something where we could have work experience days within our own organizations. So we could say to people, what do you want to achieve at interview when we hire them? I know Mark's one of these people who likes to know people's journeys before they even get themselves started. It's, where do you want to end up? You want to end up as registered manager. Brilliant. You've got this, you've got that, you're in a senior position. Would you like to do 1 day a month job experience as an RM alongside our current RM so you can understand how things work and get a taste and a feel for things? That's just my idea. Anyone can go and do it. Anyone can take that and put it in. I just think that would help in growing our teams and our knowledge and collectiveness. Mark, what do you reckon? I know you'll probably shoot me down and go, no, it's not possible. But what do you think?
No, I completely agree. I do love to know what people's career goals are. And, equally, if somebody doesn't have any career goals, that's fine. And I respect that. But actually, what are your personal life goals and what do you want to achieve there? Because actually, you can support with both. But I think for me, I've lost my trail of thought. So you might have to come back to me. Isaac, what do you think while I recap my memory of what I was going to say?
It's imagine you're a manager and then you have a lot of team who are actually equally knowledgeable, and qualified as you, and they respect you as a manager. in that case, the care home will be running very, very smoothly because you got people in the front line who's got equal qualification as you. Duplicate yourself and see how effective the team would be. So that's a really positive thing to upskill your team. I think what happens most of the time is some managers may fear that their job will be made redundant because their team is better than them. It's a very common fear that I come across in many care homes, but that shouldn't be the case. So if you are a good leader, you actually enable your team to grow, or teach them as much as you can so that they are so super qualified, and even on Saturdays and Sunday the home goes very smoothly, and the impact is great. I think we should train the people, but the limitation would be having somebody supernumerary for a month, or that may not be financially achievable for any care home, an extra role. So it has to be a nice balance.
I completely agree with the whole worrying about people being better than you as a manager. And I think if we can upskill people so that when they leave our service, because ultimately, as a registered manager, if you're not going to leave, then your team are going to leave around you because they need to progress and climb the ladder. Then I think actually if you've upskilled somebody and you've shown them how to do something properly, actually they're more likely to go on and go and manage a care service and do it the right way than leave because they're not happy and do it the wrong way and then have a bad experience of care and then ultimately be leading teams. I think kind of just has that positive effect. What I was going to say is about the skill gap. So I think we have people that start as a care worker and they progress to a senior care worker, and then all of a sudden they get into a management role, and it's a very different role than that of being very hands-on. And I do think care providers need to think about actually how can we bridge that gap. And I know the organisation I'm in, we had a big gap, and actually we implemented a deputy role into it, which the organisation didn't have prior to me being there, but actually allow somebody to kind of take that step into management. And we see that all the time in care homes, don't we? They've got the deputy and then you've got the manager. But I think in home care, that's not so common. I think there is just the care staff seniors and then the registered manager. But I think, if you don't have a deputy manager and you haven't got the budget to be able to, have that role within your home, I think, allocating small tasks where if something goes wrong, it's not going to impact the patient care. But actually it could be, they could be trusted to do an audit, or they could be in charge of health and safety, or maybe doing some supervisions with colleagues and bits and pieces, just to kind of give them experience, but not risk that kind of anything going wrong that's going to affect your registration yourself or your reputation of your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the main most of the senior care workers, or the people who have worked in the sector for long, who are already experienced, they're already good with care side of things, care planning, medications. They're quite knowledgeable already. All they need is the people management skills. That's where the most of the time the gap is. So that's there's less number of trainings for people management, and that's not something that we can actually teach people as well. You really have to have your own motivation to read books and learn from other people, listen to audiobooks, watch. It's a I'm sure you must have read so many things in order to be a manager for yourself, Mark and Adam, to manage your own people in your services. It's not something that we can coach directly, can we? I mean, we can, yes, to some extent, but there has to be some kind of self motivation to learn on how to be a good leader.
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't want to spend the whole night plugging the Health and Social Care Club, but if you listen back a couple of weeks on the Health and Social Care Club on Clubhouse, there was actually a room all about books that people had read that had inspired them and helped them along their leadership and their management journey. And I think things like you say, like people do need to have a growth mindset. We can find ourselves in positions where we go, you are a fantastic carer, so you can be my manager. And they get into that post and they're like, but I don't know what to do now. I don't have those skills. I only have those care skills. Right, we're halfway through the show already, can you believe it? And I know there's people sat here on their hands waiting to know, Isaac, How did you get outstanding twice? What tips can you give us tonight? Where should we start the discussion? You are the master on this, so we will be guided by yourself. But how do we achieve outstanding?
Okay, so that's a very massive question. So you're talking about 13 fundamental standards, all the CQC regulations, 24 CLOEs, uh, all that's come into play, and then your care home, who owns the care home, then the place where it is, the community where it is, type of people working in, who is the leader. So there's a lot of factors involved in making that outstanding care home. So to anyone who is really interested to start the process, the first step would be understanding the CQC regulations. So many care homes do have, are really great. They do amazing care. They go over and beyond. Most of the care homes, in some aspect, do over and beyond for their clients. But what happened is the version of CQC outstanding and how it is perceived by the people in the care sector is different. So you really have to be really knowledgeable in CQC regulations and employee characteristic in order to match your evidence with the rating characteristics. So the first step would be read all the fundamental standards, like 13 fundamental standards. The second one is understand what regulation 9 is, what regulation 10 is, what regulation 11 is, until regulation 20A, which is display of rating characteristic. And then that's the first step. Be a master, like spend 1 week probably for that. The second step would be learn the CLOEs. So go through all the CLOEs, the subsections, and then learn the rating characteristics as well. So it clearly describes exactly. So under responsive, if, for example, responsive is the easiest domain to get outstanding. So under responsive, some of the examples that you can put as an outstanding evidence is going over and beyond. So, or maybe exploring somebody's past for you to do something meaningful for them. So as long as your evidence can match with the particular CLOE characteristic, that's more than enough to pitch outstanding towards CQC rating. And also something to remember is for a CQC inspector to come and give you a good rating, they always come with a view of like this care home is good. And if they find something that's not good, then they will try to dig deeper and find out how bad is the situation. So if they find it's good, in order for them to pitch you to be outstanding, they have to put a lot of extra effort to it. That means they have to collect the data, more photographs, in order for them to collect and then write up the report, send it to the panel. So that's an extra work. So if you can do that for them, then that would make their life easy, because they spend only 1 or 2 days in your service, and they prefer to give you a good rating and everyone is happy, go home. But if you can provide that extra bits that you have done, that will make their life easy. So first of all, it's regulations. Second one is understanding CLOE. The third one is having a good depth of understanding of rating characteristics. Then matching your evidence with the rating characteristic, giving that data to CQC inspectors on the day of inspection or after. So that's a simple mechanic. This is an overview, but of course, I'm happy to go into details in whatever form if you want me to.
Thank you very much, Isaac. I think I've listened to you before talk about looking at the CLOEs and reading the regulations, and I know that I've spoken to managers that have also listened. Why do you think, if all we need to do is look at those, why we only have kind of 3.7% of care homes that are rated outstanding, and then we've got 5% overall of the whole of adult social care that's outstanding? Why do you not think there's more services that aren't rated higher than the good?
I would say it's more from the problem of care providers rather than the inspectors. So, there are controversies about they have an internal target to, do not to rate more care homes as outstanding, which I don't believe that's true. But the realistic thing is, during my experience as visiting many care homes, very few care homes pitch themselves as outstanding. Not many at all. So there is a genuine reason from our perspective. There's less effort taken by the care providers in order for them to get the rating that they want.
Can I say something quite controversial now then?
Go for
Because
it, Adam.
okay. I'm not going to do you out of business, Isaac. I think what you do is amazing. I think your book is fantastic. I think your consultations, your all of your work you do is incredible. My problem is with the actual rating system at the moment from the CQC. So we talk about good, inadequate, outstanding, and I just feel that the outstanding is unachievable for so many for a number of reasons. One, there'll be a quota because it's like diamonds. If everybody had diamonds, diamonds wouldn't be expensive. So if everyone was outstanding, outstanding wouldn't be this holy grail of come and move into our home or use our services because we're amazing. And I also feel personally that some providers, not all providers, will look at outstanding and go, this is what we want to be. We want to achieve outstanding. And in doing so, focus more on getting that outstanding rating than actually realizing or asking whether the people who use their services think they're outstanding. And for me, it's what you want to balance is being outstanding. Do you want CQC to come once every 4 years? I'm going to say 4 years because I was at my old place 10 years and only got inspected 3 times. So do we want CQC to come, every 2, 3, 4 years and go, there you go, there's 2 stars, you're amazing? Or do we want the people who are living with us to join us, move in, have a fantastic life and die and tell you that it's the best thing that they've ever done? What means more to us, what matters more to us. And I don't know whether the CQC model, I know they're rejigging it at the moment. I don't know whether it needs a complete overhaul and actually move people away from this goal of trying to get the best they can be and then being disheartened when they don't get it, to actually having a live monitoring system which we update every month with data, which just gives a constant feedback model. What do you think? I know you're going to sit here and go, no, outstanding's amazing, it's great, but do you think CQC should be looking at completely overhauling their inspection framework?
So there are different perspectives to what you have said. One, since implementing outstanding rating compared to previous model of inspecting rating surveys, the principle of continuous improvement has got extra impact on the sector. So most the care homes who are performing very well, they want to push more, to do more, to get better. It's a continuous improvement thing. So most care homes, I think the previous type of system didn't have that kind of what would you say, there was no appetite for them to do the extra stuff. If you look at the care model a couple of years back, I've been to care homes which are like 20 bedded, but they used to accommodate 30-35 people, which was sort of unacceptable, I would say. I mean, that was the type of standards that we are getting out from. So I think definitely having a holy grail rating has helped, because it helps to improve the rating, improve the care that we provide to people. The second one, if you carefully study outstanding characteristics, it is definitely from the perspective, it's for the most of the outstanding rating is given if it has made an impact for the people you care for or the community you care for. So there is a big element of, we actually do something for them. So it's not just CQC give us rating when we know how to tell them the story in the correct way. But still we have to have evidence in order to tell them that we have done this. We can't really make up the evidence, but we have to do something for somebody in order for us to tell, okay, we did this for somebody and this might be an outstanding rate, example. So the care, the outstanding characteristic is very, very simple. And if you try to match your evidence with that, then everybody will have the rating that they deserve. The real problem in the sector is uh, they're not putting an extra effort to find out if they are good enough, and then find out, what are we doing extra and how can we pitch that as outstanding evidence to CQC.
Okay, so
So
two
I go
questions.
to some, sorry to interrupt. I go to some beautiful care homes, amazing care homes, and when you actually walk in and spend 2 days, 3 days there, it's very evident that it's amazing care.
So two questions then. So one will be, let's say people, I'm going to use it as reverse questions. So we've got our form together, we've got all of our evidence, we've got videos and photos and testimonials and everything like that. CQC come through the door. They're absolutely snowed under at the moment because they too have retention problems, and all they want to do is come tick boxes and go. How does a provider sit them down and go, no, stop, we are outstanding, look at what we're doing, please focus on this as well? And just as an amendment to that, if the provider hasn't got a folder like that, what should providers be doing to put together, and how should they put it together to best show off their services to the regulator?
Best way in the current modern times, yes, folder would help. Anything physical, tangible will help. At the same time, having a soft copy will help as well. Maybe a drive link. You put everything together under each CLUE. So as long as it matches the rating characteristic, that's fine. I think most of the time, what I come across is people put as outstanding, such as preventing falls, or or maybe doing something that care providers are supposed to do anyway. So it's understanding what is good and what is outstanding is very, very different.
I think providers definitely need to look at how the evidence is captured, because I do think that we see that quite often, time and time again, that the evidence wasn't there. I was keen to talk to you, Isaac, about the CQC's new model of inspecting. So we know that they've said that they've learnt their lessons from the last 5 years. It's put them in a better position, and they've set out their ambitions under the 4 themes. So people and communities, smarter regulation, safety through learning, and accelerating improvement. So do you think this will impact care services? Do you think it'll be a better way of regulating care providers? Or what's your kind of view on this, and how will this impact adult social care?
I think they're moving towards the model of having live statistics and the data. That's on their vision as well. I mean, I don't work for CQC, so I don't know what's internally being shared. The second thing, I think they're also working on a model where CLUE is they're trialing it. Uh, CLUE is changed to I statements and V statements. So from my perspective, I think this would be a wrong time to implement any massive changes to the current model, uh, because it's the sector is already being stretched in different directions. And last thing that we want is regulators coming and changing the entire model next year, which will cause a lot of problem. So I think it will be a catch-up game for all the providers. If you look at internationally, the model that we have here is way better than many, many other countries. So if you look at the US model, it's more of data. There's no star ratings. So we already have a good system in place. Many people won't agree to it, but that's the truth. So the way in which the quality is subjectively, assessed in UK is far better than many developed countries in the world.
I mean, Mark and I recently did a podcast with an American company called All Home Care Matters. Absolutely incredible person, Lance, who hosted the podcast. But what we found interesting is only certain states in America have regulations for home care. They don't have it, countrywide. And I know we sit here and we moan about the Care Inspectorate and the CQC and other regulators, but we are lucky, I suppose, to have this regulation. And when I say we, I don't mean us as providers. I mean the people who rely on social care services. They are lucky that we have these people looking out for them and making sure that services are up to scratch. But I think even still, they feel let down, especially during the pandemic, with the Care Quality Commission doing very little to enforce visiting and make sure visiting with loved ones was going on. They do feel let down. So I do think the regulator has more to do to regain trust in the sector. But you are right, Isaac. Compared to other countries around the world, we do have the luck that we've got a regulator on our side. I say on our side loosely. Sorry, Mark, you were muted as I came in.
So it's if you study regulations as such, as a client or as a service user, if you for example, if we study the regulations and then we walk in as a client, reading the regulation will automatically give me the confidence to say what I am entitled to get. So if you read the fundamental standards and if you walk into a care service, regulations are protecting you to get the right care when you walk into that service. So the way in which it is implemented by the inspectors, at some point it can be wrong, it can be subjective, which is not a fault. It's being interpreted in different ways. It's like reading a holy religious book. It can be interpreted by different people in different ways. That's where we need to get it right. The regulations itself is protecting people. It's how it's implemented is what matters.
I completely agree, and I think we should be regulated. I think otherwise, it'd run riot. And I think we all know care workers that have left and gone, set up on their own as a solo person, in a village or a community. And I kind of look at some of the care that kind of my elderly. I live in a small village, and majority are elderly. And I kind of look at, a couple of care workers that come in the care they deliver, and they're there for 5 minutes. And I end up looking after my neighbour, where actually she's paying, £25. Unregulated, and the care that she receives. I think for me, what I would like to see from the CQC, and I talk with my kind of learning disability home manager hat on, is that we had so many inspectors that had never worked in learning disabilities or weren't upskilled in learning disabilities. And quite often we would talk to them and they'd be, oh, you can't be doing, and I'd be like, well, actually, we can be doing that. We've had advocates involved, we've had a local authority involved, families have been involved, the person themselves, has made this decision, and we've empowered them to make that decision. So I think what I would like to see is inspectors that have that care background. And if they don't have a care background, that they've been upskilled and they've got the knowledge. And I think ultimately, what I'd love to see is I've had some fantastic inspectors over the year that have really co-produced work, and you can pick up the phone or you can drop an email and you can run something past them. But then equally, I've had inspectors where you would never contact them because you think if you contact them, it's going to reflect badly somewhere along the line. And I do think there's a lot of that there's still that kind of fear factor with the CQC, whereas actually it should be the opposite way around, that actually we feel that we can pick up the phone. You can phone their inquiry line and ask for support, and you actually get the support. Or if you're lucky enough to have a nominated individual, of a CQC inspector, like a named one, that actually can pick up the phone and ask them, and you kind of have that good working relationship. I think coming back to the actual inspection, is Amanda's raised a really good point here that I've just brought up on the screen, is that she's saying that they've challenged draft inspections and they've changed the outcome. And I think actually we need, as providers, to empower people to challenge. And I think quite often there's a fear that actually if you challenge them, it's actually going to go in your kind of, not in your favour. And actually at the next inspection, but actually we should be challenging and saying, actually, we showed you this, or you didn't want to look at this, or this wasn't considered. And I think there's so many providers, and I was talking about this today, where now that it's digital, you send the documents over and you password control it, but they don't actually even open it or ask for the password. So how are they putting that into the inspection report if they've not actually looked at the password? And I think actually we need to be going back and challenging those circumstances and saying, look, actually, how have you given us a requires improvement, or how have you given us good when actually you haven't looked at these documentation? And actually, we deserve better, or we think that as a service we should be better. And I know there's obviously specialist lawyers out there at the moment that specialise in doing that. But I definitely think that we need to be pushing back. Adam, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh, sorry, Adam, go ahead. Sorry, it was for Adam.
Oh, either or.
I think in order to challenge, you shouldn't do a blind challenge. So the person who is challenging should be knowledgeable enough on what they are challenging. So that means they need to have in-depth understanding of Chloe's rating characteristic and regulations as well. So if we don't have that backup, then that would become a costly process, and that can have a very big financial impact on the particular care home.
I agree. I think for me, I would always urge everybody to familiarize themselves with the Chloes as much as possible and evidence what they're doing and what they're achieving, no matter how they want to keep that evidence in, I don't know, on hard drive or floppy disk. They probably only hold about a Word document nowadays on a floppy disk. But if we could take that evidence of what we think is outstanding and what we think we're doing that is good and reference that alongside the Chloes for when CQC come, then we've already got that understanding. We've got that background. We're going, look, this is where we think we're hitting these Chloes. You see this here, that's what we're doing. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And this is where we're going above and beyond as well. And if they still turn around and go, actually, you're only good, then I would go, go hell for leather. Do as much. If you know you're putting blood, sweat, and tears into making the lives of the people you're supporting the best they possibly can be, go for it. As long as you can back yourself up. And Amanda's, I'd love to hear Amanda's experiences of challenging and actually achieving those outstandings. I think that's incredible and an inspiration to others out there who, think they deserve better than what CQC have handed out. Look, we're running close on time, and I really want to just bring up. Well, there's two things, but I'll let Mark come on before I bring up the second one. But awards, Isaac, how important do you think awards are for providers, business-wise, and for their ability to achieve greater ratings from CQC? Whether that be big national awards, local business awards, how much effort should we be putting into these awards ceremonies?
Awards itself doesn't guarantee any outstanding ratings. According to the rating characteristic, accreditations to something that is already well known as best practice will help you to get outstanding. Nominating your employee for best practice, that will help you with the leadership well led. But awards itself doesn't actually make any difference to the rating.
The only reason I ask is we're in the presence of a multi-award winning care manager, Mark, who's got about 3 trophy cabinets full of awards. He hates me mentioning this and he gets really coy about it, but I think it's incredible and I want to celebrate it as much as I can do. But I know there are people out there who will want to try and put as much effort into the awards as possible. So would you say, Isaac, it's best to focus our efforts on our Chloes, making sure we're hitting that outstanding before we start looking at the awards and putting our efforts in there?
Yeah, in the right order, yes. Get the basics right, get your process running smoothly, and then pitch for outstanding. And along with that, as a part of recognizing your employees, yes, including the managers. Sometimes the managers' work will not be recognized properly, so they need to be nominated as well for awards as well. Yes, it will help the team morale, but CQC will actually look into it in a different way. So even if I have judged, I've judged many award nominations. Always, what I will look for is what impact this person has created, rather than what's written within the system. I'm sorry, I think it's somebody trying to.
Oh, if I wasn't awake before, I am now. Oh my days!
I think it was my smoke alarm. While Isaac answers his phone or deals with the smoke alarm, whatever it was, what I would love to see, and I know that people, that are viewed in on Facebook and also on YouTube, and I have started seeing it more, is that companies embrace internal awards. I look at kind of like the last year and the amount of money that I would have spent on all these dinners and attending venues and events and bits and pieces. And I kind of think, as companies, that was just me on my own. But if you're an organization, you normally take, 2, 3, 4, a whole table of people, and actually all of that money could actually be spent on your teams and having internal awards, which I think also helps with the whole recognition, helps with retention, and actually, they're peer-to-peer awards. People can nominate each other, and actually you can get all of your team together. You can all go for dinner. You can invite the people that you support to dinner and just make it one big event. And Adam, I know you did that in your care home, didn't you? You got everybody kind of together and you did some mini awards. I don't know, talking about your experience, I'd love to hear more about that.
Ours was more of a twee sort of, let's just have fun, dress up, and everyone can get an award event. It wasn't a case of recognizing things for what they were. It was just a case of having a bit of fun and an enjoyment. I do agree we need to look at more internal organization awards. And I'd love to get Sonia back on at some point, because Sonia's got a really interesting viewpoint from HR perspectives of, we can't just give people the awards because we want to give them the award. There has to be something quantifiable, and you can actually open yourself up to problems if you can't justify why you're awarding one employee and not another, especially with things like employee of the month, etc. But they are worth the time and they are worth the investment. Gratitude and thanks goes a long, long way. And going to these award ceremonies as the manager with your deputy and probably the administrator and someone else like that, you're leaving out the rest of your team in bathing in their success. They're the ones that are making you outstanding. Yes, your leadership's coming down from the top, but they're following and providing that outstanding care. So yeah, do it. Get your relatives involved. Get the people you support involved. Have them as the judging committee. Get them telling you, actually, you're the best carer that I've had, and it's amazing. Maybe it does give everyone awards, so everyone's not left out. But I think that's a really good idea, Mark. Isaac, what do you think? Internal awards for our team members, is it a good morale booster?
If it's done properly, yes. Your team has to be at some level of good culture in order to do that positively. So if you're building up your team from the scratch, I think having an award, the judgment process, it can be complicated. Like Mark said, focus more on team building, taking your team out of your care home, doing something, team building exercise or motivation. That's what matters more than like having a Christmas dinner, having a drink and sitting opposite to a table once in a year. It doesn't improve the culture or team morale. So what you want is a regular events internally to bring them together, have a mission together, understand them outside work, sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's that consistency, isn't there, as well? Don't just do it once and then wait and then do it randomly again. Be consistent with it, make it part of your culture. COVID really has ruined some real good opportunities for team building. People have gone 2 years without having huge team events in case everyone comes down with COVID and we all get locked out from things. But there are still ways around things. We can have our virtual evenings if we wanted to, and have our virtual pub quizzes with our teams, and we can do things safely and smartly. Look, we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm thinking, Isaac, some three top tips. If anyone's watching this and they're a manager and they want to go into work tomorrow inspired, fully charged from listening to you tonight, what are the 3 top tips you would give them to go in tomorrow to make a difference, to start their journey to outstanding?
You put me on the spot. 3 top tips. So I think the first one that comes to my mind is it has to start with the leader. So looking into yourself to see where you are as a leader, how knowledgeable you are, and critiquing yourself to see, what you see in your care home is a reflection of your leadership. So if it's good or bad, you are accountable or responsible for it. So are you happy with that or not? So having a self-reflection, understanding how good you are as a leader, and that's the first thing. I think work on your personal development first to start with. The second thing is probably block 2 or 3 days in a calendar to study all these regulations and CQC, Chloe rating characteristics, etc. Third tip would be to do a Chloe audit. If you're aiming for an outstanding, yes. Third tip would be once you have studied all these things, probably spend another 2 days just focusing, lock yourself in the door and see where you are in terms of CQC perspective. And so that means you have already self-evaluated your own leadership skills, your knowledge, and then you have assessed against the CQC standards. Now that's where the journey starts.
I mean, I think they're great top tips, if I'm honest. And if people went to your website, obviously they can download your top 10 tips from there as well, can't they? Get yourself over to isaactheo.com. Some really great resources on there. And, follow Isaac on social media. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Twitter, and he gives out so much great advice. I mean, yeah, you are going to have to pay to have his consultancy services and his business, but it's worth it. Look at the recommendations from him. He knows what he's talking about. And I think I'm just blessed to be able to sit in a virtual meeting with you, Isaac, finally say that I've met you one-to-one, and that you were an inspiration to myself when I was on my management journey. And if I go back into care home management, into care management, you will continue to be an inspiration. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Same way. I'm blessed and humbled to be invited for this.
So Mark, you join us back. You've been back 2 weeks and you're not going to be here next week. Honestly, part-time chat show host. What have we got on next week? What have we got coming up?
Next week, I'm absolutely gutted. It's Menopause Awareness Week, and it was meant to be the show when I was in hospital, and I was gutted that it was postponed. And I think it's a much-needed conversation in social care for the workforce. And I'm gutted to not be here next week, but I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show. We've got Sharon joining us, who's a lead expert in menopause awareness, has featured on BBC News, Sky News to raise awareness, and really kind of has the topic under her collar. So yeah, I'll definitely be tuning in on Catch Up afterwards, but yeah, gutted to be missing it next week.
I want you to be tuning in live from Dua Lipa, thank you very much. I want you to be there on both on screen and watching at the same time.
Well, you never know, I might do. I'll be bopping along,
So yeah, we're talking menopause next week. I think it's going to be a really enlightening conversation. The week after, we're talking career pathways, career awareness. There are umpteen different things we can achieve in social care, so don't miss out on that one. And then the week after that, we aren't going to have a live show per se. We're going to be having our first ever in-person show live from the Health Plus Care Show on the 19th of May in the morning. 10 o'clock, I think it is, Mark, is it? 10 till 10:45. So if you are coming to the Health Plus Care Show, come and find us live. We are going to have a great conversation. We've got a great panel lined up from that. If you aren't coming to the Health Plus Care Show, why not? Come to the Health Plus Care Show. Come and meet us. It'll be great. We're going to have a right good laugh. And it's my birthday when we're live, so come and say hello, please. Other than that, we will see you all next week. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Isaac, thank you once again so much. Everyone, go and check out his website. But until then, I will see you all next week. Mark, I will see you in a fortnight.
See you soon. Thank you very much, Isaac.
Thank you.